Okay, so what's up? I'm back. I had to move locales. Video got cut off. Everything. So have I had a fusion? No, I have not had a fusion. I've not had a fusion because, well, they expensive, y'all. Like they ain't cheap. Like it's not cheap. No, it's not. Fusion is not cheap. Even in good old Indiana, fusion is ridiculous. But okay, so there's two types of fusion, right? Right. So you have cold fusion and you have hot fusion. Well, what's the difference? Well, besides the basic difference that obviously one is hot, one's cold, right? Right? Yeah, right? Right? Okay. Gosh, I'm trying to think how to explain this. Okay, here goes. Cold fusion has recently been introduced to the market. I don't honestly know how long it's been. I would probably guess that it's probably been within the last 10 to 15 years that cold fusion has been introduced. Because the thing that I found about weaves and hair extensions and the techniques to apply them in different things is that it's pretty progressive, and usually a new technique is constantly coming out, or some technique has been improved upon or something. My dog she's following me, y'all. She's stalking, y'all. She's stalking. So I find that they stay pretty up on it. You know, that the industry stays really up on it. Okay, because everyone's trying to get that money, trying to get that dollar. You know what I mean? So you don't stay on top of it. It's like a good hairdresser. Like, hey, you know, like their appointment book's gonna be full. And there you have it. So cold fusion. Cold fusion is the hair is made of 100% human hair. It's not yak hair. It's not diluted. The way the extensions, or let me also explain that it's popular obviously because the fusion isn't as harsh as heat fusion, because heat fusion, there's a lot of issues that can easily kind of come along with that, and we'll talk about that when we get to heat fusion. But cold fusion consists of using a keratin based polymer, and then it attaches the hair extension to the scalp. Okay, the polymer is flexible, it's invisible, it gives a natural look like your hair has grown out your scalp. That is the end result of it. The thing that that people like about it also is that, you know, your extensions don't look kind of stiff and lifeless. Like some other methods can do that if they're not done properly. The way that cold fusion is attached is that ultrasound wave. People in their cold. It's cold and flu season, so you're gonna hear like "achoo" in the background. I'm sorry. Hell, I may be on here one day and you'd be like, "Ew, get out of YouTube." And I'd be like, "Okay, I was eating it." But anyway, ultrasound waves. Okay, we all know what an ultrasound is, and ultrasounds carry waves. That's how you get the image back of the baby, or your kidney stones, or whatever else you got going on in your tummy. But the ultrasound waves are used in the areas where the keratins are going to be attached, and then the energy and the vibration generated from the ultrasound waves create the bond, and it creates a really strong bond. So that is where cold fusion is, you know, fundamentally different. That's Scotty going in the basement. No, that's Scotty putting his head in the basement because he's too lazy to walk out there and wear the sheets if the dryer has stopped. But it's cool, I can't talk, I do the same thing too. Now that's Scotty messing with the old door, and Scotty's now walking away. Yeah, alright. That was Scotty! Scotty. See, off camera, he's like Mr. Wilson from Home Improvement. You never see him, but you hear him. How about that? Okay, cold fusion. People choose cold fusion over heat fusion because it doesn't use as much glue, it isn't as damaging, and the list goes on. The way the cold fusion is removed from the hair, there's a depolymerizing lotion that is used to remove the hair. And also the removal process is more simpler than with fusion or other things sometimes that are adhered to you know, one's scalp or one's hair. What else? I'm trying to think really what else about cold fusion, because unfortunately I haven't had one done. So it's mostly research and people that have had it done. One of the things about removing it is that it isn't as painful, it isn't as stressful as some of the other methods. So that's another reason why cold fusion is really popular. Next up, we're going to talk to you. I'm going to flip over in my notes and we're going to talk about heat fusion. Now, heat fusion, I know a little something about, okay? Mary J. Blige had some heat fusions and they were killer. Tara Reid had a heat fusion, not so much. For real. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, Johnny, when did Tara Reid have a heat fusion? Like, she probably had microlinks or something. Remember a little movie called Josie and the Pussycats, you guys? Remember that movie, huh? I know some of you secretly ran out to the movie theaters and saw it. I didn't because as much as I love Rosario Dawson and Rachel Lee Cook and even to a degree some Tara Reid, I just wasn't going to go see Josie and the Pussycats live action. No. Them broads were singing in a bowling alley. No. I mean, Alan Cummings is cute, but no. He couldn't even save it for me. So no, I have yet to see it. But anyway. The hair that Tara Reid had, they were extensions, alright? And it's a funny story. She was once on giving an interview right when the movie came out, and had been in theaters for a little bit. I'd say maybe a month, if that. Had been in theaters. She was on like Jimmy Kimmel or Carson. I think it was when she was still kicking it with Carson. She was on his show or someone's show. And she was saying how they had put the extensions in. And she had mentioned that the technique they used was fusion. And that she was talking to her friend one day, right, and she did all with, whether it's your hair or not, eventually do this when you have long hair. I don't care who you are, you do it, okay? She did that and like clumps of her hair came out, right? Well, that's because the fusion bond started to break down. So, with that being said, let's get to what heat fusion is. Now, heat fusion obviously uses heat to apply the extensions, okay? Now, heat fusion does deliver one of the more versatile and believable weaves out there, just like cold fusion. In my opinion, cold fusion gives an even more believable extension or weave quality than heat fusion. With this technique, it's similar to using a hot glue gun, basically, to adhere the hair extensions to individual strands of the person's hair. What did you just say? Yeah, that's right. Glue pot, glue gun. That's what's used in order to do fusion. Google it, look up videos of it on YouTube where actually someone shows it and you can see how it's done. But basically I mean, in a nutshell, that's what fusion is. They use the glue, and basically what happens is that the extensions are clumped together and then they are adhered with glue to strands of the person's hair. Okay? With a fusion weave, you can wash your hair every week. You can use products, you can use gels, you can use mousses, you can use all that. But it's time consuming. It usually takes anywhere from 8 to 16 hours, roughly. A good set of braids will usually take you about 8 hours, so yeah. And it ranges anywhere from, I know here in Indy you can get away, you can probably find someone that will do it for like $400, but in most metropolitan urban areas you're going to find it for base price at $800 and in excess of $1,600. Repeat, in excess of $1,600, just to let you know. So the heat application is done with individual strands of hair. The hair is sectioned off, you know, is sectioned off basically, in the skinny, like almost like someone's getting like micro braids almost to a degree is how it's kind of sectioned off. And then the extensions is applied at the correct temperature because there's a certain temperature setting. And then the stylist will attach the sections of hair to the client's section hair, kind of depending on the style. Now, the thing about heat fusion is that you got to be real careful because obviously if someone doesn't know what they're doing, they can easily burn you. You can damage the hair permanently to the point where it won't grow back. I mean, there's a lot of issues with heat fusion, so you got to make sure that whoever is going to do the heat fusion knows what they're doing. You can't let a hood rat on the street do a heat fusion. You cannot. You can let a hood rat on the street do crochet braids, although a hood rat didn't do mine. For real. I'm a professional. You know, you can let them give you some micro braids or a sew-in or a quick weave, but you can't let them do fusion. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much. Either save up, have the money already, or don't do it. Don't do it. You know, you can't do everything. I'll probably never have a fusion. And I'm okay with that. As much as I want one, desperately, a cold fusion, not a hot, but desperately. But no. But yeah, half a head could take roughly about 20 sections, and a full head can take about 80 sections. It's recommended that, again, that a trained professional that has done it knows what they're doing. Does it? Any questions or comments on that? Okay, good.